Hello everybody. Today I have a bit of a different video for you guys. Not going to be scripted, not going to be any of that. This is just going to be purely my thoughts, because there's a lot that I want to talk about in this video. This goes in conjunction with a recent article that got posted in the Captain's Log, which if you don't know that is basically the World Airline Historical Society's online publication where they post all kinds of cool stuff on there, mainly focusing within aviation history. But recently, there were some people going around asking for some friendship stories relating to Airliners International, so I decided to write one up and then send it in, and it got published, so that was great to see. And I think it's a really good story for sure, so I'll link that in the description if you want to check it out. It goes into detail a lot about just my background and how I discovered the convention and what it's meant to me ever since, and all of that. But at least for this video, I want to elaborate on that a little further and go with a more video element, looking at all of the videos that have been made on this convention on YouTube and just seeing what everybody did at the time of each of these shows, and then just talk about just the general impact of the friendships, like what I do in the Captain's Log article, but try to provide a slightly different angle, if you will, in this video. So on your screen right now, I have the Airliners International 2022 Community Content playlist, the first of the currently 4 playlists that I have. I'm not going to show the 2025 one since we're not at the convention just yet. Not too far out, though, so I will link that in the description of this video as well if you want to check that out, and then bookmark it if you want to save it for another time, but it will certainly be posted on all of the Airliners International videos that get posted on YouTube. So the community content playlist, it was just a sort of spur of the moment idea that I had, because before going to this convention, there wasn't a whole lot of videos on YouTube on Airliners International. I think I probably came across like 2 or 3 of them before I went to the one in Chicago. So I wanted to make just a playlist where all these videos could be put into one place, so that if people ever found this playlist, it's the complete culmination of all the content that has been made on the convention. So with this 2022 convention, there wasn't a whole lot of us out there. As you can see, there are only 55 videos in here, but you know, never fear, there's going to be more in the future playlists that we'll look at here. And recently I did resort these videos a little bit. I've put some featured videos up at the top, and then from there the rest of them are sorted chronologically. And I did this so that some of the more popular videos could be shown at the top of the playlist, so that if you're looking for those particular videos in the playlist, you don't have to go searching for them yourself. So they're right up at the top of the playlist, easy to find and easy to access. So the first video I put up here this is my Airliners International 2022 experience video, and I'm actually going to try and click on a couple of these videos just to see how it works. So I apologize if the video jumps up and down and around the screen a little bit when I'm editing this, just so that I make sure that everything's all cropped properly, but I'll just go back and watch this one for a little bit because this is a good one to watch. This video, I have a super exciting video for you guys. Today, I am going to be taking you guys through the Airliners International 2022. Why does my voice sound like that? Yeah, just reminder, this was made like 3 years ago, so, you know, my voice definitely sounds a lot different, and I did a nice little time lapse. This is actually through Austin, Minnesota on Interstate 90, and then that right there was on one of the tollways of Chicago. That was on I-90 as well, so that interstate turns into a tollway when you get into the Chicago area. But yeah, this is a really good video, I thought of at the time, but yeah, the voice has definitely changed a bit. It has lowered a bit ever since I first, started YouTube, but here it was still a little bit higher pitch, so it's kind of a little awkward to go back and look at it now, but that's just how it is. So yeah, let's look at this table over here maybe that I can use just to kind of show everything off here. So let's go and do that here. So we set the camera down here on the table. So just put the booty... I love the view of this as well, that view outside the Hilton Rosemont. Really good view there, just all the buildings. And you could see the aircraft coming in on the runway as well. Here. So here is one. Sorry about the backlight here. So here's one from... I should have probably filmed it with that light behind the camera because I didn't know much about lighting at the time. So that's something I have learned in recent years. I've tried to use better lighting for stuff like that. But a good backdrop for sure, just without all of the sunlight. There's an Evil Blue 79 in the background. And of course, the interruptions of the planes. That was an Evil Blue 78, as I said there. That's I do apologize. I get distracted pretty easily, but whatever. Very true today. Another timetable here. This is for Ozark Airlines in August of 1980. Oh, the first timetables that I collected. That's such a classic. A Frontier timetable from 1984. Oh, yeah. Frontier Airlines. Become a very popular airline for retro FSD, especially with the White Whale, the 737, and all that. That's a few clips that I filmed during the convention as well, so this is one of them here. You see the giant line of models. I think this was the MTS area, MTS models. I think that's who that vendor was, if I remember right, that first year. They weren't there at the Dallas show, but they were there at Kansas City because they could reach that. And then up here, I think this was the original Slimmerville, because I remember seeing Chris Slimmer up here. Yeah, I think this definitely looks like Slimmerville because of all the little houses there, the Dutch houses, and you have like the odds and ends of memorabilia there. There's the corner right there. I remember that. All those Gemini Jets models and other models that I ended up getting for really good deals. So, yeah, some really good stuff in there. I probably should have gotten more of these, but, at the time I was just getting my feet wet with this show. And, of course, I always like to mention this story because I think it's kind of funny. I went through my budget in about 30 minutes. I think it was about 4 figures. It was like $1,000 that I brought with me. And that was gone within the first 30 minutes of the convention. So it's always a lesson that I teach to others, do not blow through your budget in the first 30 minutes of when you come here for the first time. Make sure you get a good overview of the ballroom, see what cool stuff is there. And if you ever see something really cool and you don't think it's going to last very long, you can always ask the vendor to hold the items for you. So that is what I've ended up doing more often, is just looking through the ballroom, seeing what there is before I start going all ham on my budget and completely wrecking it. And thankfully, the last couple years, I have walked out of there with a little bit of my budget left over, which I think is a good idea. You definitely want to bring a little extra just in case you find that really good thing after you go through your initial budget. And you always want to chunk out your budget. Basically, bring a chunk of it every day instead of bringing it all at once so that you're not going through it all within the first day. But yeah, another corner there is Slimmerville with all the display models, but I was obviously way more focused on the Gemini Jets and the, Dragon Wings, the Aero Classics, the Herpa stuff, all that good stuff. So that is what's going on there. Now, if I go back. So yeah, that's just an overlook there at that Airliners International experience. And with this convention, this was, of course, the first time that I got to meet Connor right here. So there's his trip announcement video. This was posted, literally right before the convention because I remember that he wasn't exactly sure that he was going to be able to go. About a month out is when he got flights and a hotel booked. He wasn't able to stay at the show hotel since they had completely sold out. And I actually wasn't able to get a room at the Hilton initially, but then there was a slot that opened, so we took that. But a great convention for sure. There's our RPG IV scale models, his recap video. You got a really good haul of models there. And AS Aviation, that was the first time I got to meet him as well. Obviously, most of you know him. Big member of the aviation community, makes a lot of great content. And as far as I know, he is going to go to the show this year, which will be awesome. So I'll be happy to see him again because he wasn't at Kansas City last year. And then here's the diversion specials and more. I remember this. Wednesday afternoon, the first day that I came here. Got my first spotting session at Chicago in 3 years, and the first with my current camera. That's when the Singapore A350 just decided to show up out of the blue, so if I skip to it here, initially I thought that this was thin air, but it wasn't. It ended up being Singapore, and then I learned that it had diverted from New York because of bad weather, so that was a awesome catch, and just completely stroke of luck that I was able to catch this without any advanced warning or anything. So that was great to spot that, and that was the first true memorable moment of me attending these Airliners conventions. So that was great to spot. Loved that entire moment there. And then some more plane spotting I did that morning before it opened, AS Aviation did like a nice airside tour, plane spotting as well along at the ramp. Very good stuff there. Nick Flies also had one as well. And then Connor started the daily vlogs that he did, the day 1, day 2, day 3 vlogs. Hall video, there's a welcome reception with the baseball game. That was a great event to attend. And then a couple other people made their own fair share of videos, and then the rest of it is just mainly in-flight content because I didn't really set a standard as to what videos to include in this playlist. So I just put anything that was related to Airliners International or people traveling to and from. So the rest of it is Connor's trip stuff, and then the full trip video down here at the bottom, a full 11-hour video, which is just basically an amalgamation of all of the videos that he posted together into one, which you can see flew some really good stuff. The United 777 from Chicago to Denver, his first ever wide body, I remember that. We actually spotted that exact aircraft that he flew the day before he left, so that was awesome during the Friday night spotting meetup, which I'll pull that up real quick because I thought that was really good. So there's Connor's perspective. I'll just use mine right now. Get this all pulled up here. First thing we spot is a Star Alliance 76
that just landed.
And this Star Alliance that just landed right there.
Star Alliance 763.
There's some fun.
Lots of having fun and commentary. And I stopped putting aircraft information in these videos after this. I just like, to heck with it. I don't have the time to do that, and I also wanted to provide a more raw perspective on this. So that's why I excluded the aircraft information from it, but it's towards the end of the video. Here it is.
Coming in.
JJ, do the Matt Cochran. I can't do it now.
Matt Cochran. There's the woo. Oh, man. This is some good stuff. And the bleep.
I don't even care. It's an A380.
Listen to those engines.
The cannon beat
You can check out the full video if you want to hear those beautiful Trent engines. But yeah, first time getting a really good shot of the British A380 on the current camera. I've now seen a couple of them. Saw another one in Dallas the next year, and then again in Miami last year, which was great. Love this thing, and I'm happy to have a model of one of these since it has that significant sentimental value to me. And this clip does continue. We actually get a really good bank shot, so just wait for that to pop up as that aircraft banks.
Picture.
Bank, 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 bank.
Oops, that was not my intent. My elbow hit a button. I think it was the delete button or something, because that just brought me right back to the start of the video. But anyways, that full video is there if you want to check it out just from that perspective. So yeah, just looking back at all these videos, it's really great just to see how well this first show went for me. My first Airliners International convention, the first aviation convention period for both myself and Connor. It was great to finally meet him because I'd known him for about a year and a half up to that point. So getting that checked off was great and made me very confident that, we can do this again. We should go to the next show, and it was going to be in Dallas. Bit of a long haul for me, but my family was okay with it. They had some other stuff they wanted to do, so we figured, why not go to 2023's convention? And there we are, and you can see the bulk of videos that have been uploaded. You can see over 200 videos. There's plenty to look at in this playlist, and the feature videos up here, I of course have Connor's daily vlogs, a day 1, day 2, day 3 vlog in there, and then AS Aviation's perspective. There's my general experience video, and then Syracuse Aviation's full experience, which is over 90 minutes in length, so a lot of content in there to watch. That's certainly worth it. And then Dreamliner fans' DFW spotting perspective. And then I have Connor's speech at the banquet dinner that Saturday night, which I did not attend, but I have watched that back a couple of times, and he just talks about the importance of friendships and the socialization of this convention and what it means to him. And I agree with every second of that speech. So yeah, this Dallas convention was certainly where many more new memories were made, and just meeting all sorts of new people for the first time. I met so many new friends, and this is where the first time I did meet Syracuse Aviation at the convention. So I'll just quickly scroll through his experience video, because I've not really watched the full thing. You see, did not censor certain parts, but that's all right.
Guys, welcome to Dallas, where the local time is like 8 something. Sorry? There we go, 8:11.
I think this was Thursday morning, because I remember first met Anderson that morning. It was after I was coming up the elevator back to my room, and then Connor and Anderson were gonna head down to the area where the ballroom was at. So I first met them as I got out of the elevator. It's like, hey, there he is. And I think it took Anderson a second to realize who I was, because obviously this is the first time we ever met in person. But yeah, first time that the three of us got to meet up, and we had a lot of fun. So I'll just skim through this video a little bit just to see what there is. You can see there's a... this is just some ballroom stuff, looking through models and whatnot. And then there's some plane spotting in there as well from the hotel room. I think I was on a tour that afternoon, I remember, if I remember right. Or maybe this was that Thursday night or something. Oh, no, wait, this was Thursday night. Kind of in this section here. Yeah, so this is the welcome reception, just as we were getting there, and then we had a bunch of fun. I was not here for this. This is the first airport update for Airliners International that was done. The Star Alliance 757 in there, a Northwest 727-100 Ozark. What are all these models here? There's like a mixture of old and new. I like this. I do not remember the layout of this, because I saw this video once from Connor's perspective like a year ago, or 2 years ago now. And yeah, I don't really remember this, but yeah, this is a really good layout for the first Slimmerville update. Really good idea that they put together. And, you know, I wish I was there for that first rendition, but hey, I made it for the second one, which was even better than this first one. So there's even a C-17 in there. Look at her art here. Oh my gosh. I'm still kind of bummed that they repainted that. And that's a guppy up there, the top right. And then an A380 in there as well. Goodness me, there's a lot of crazy stuff in here. But yeah, that's the airport update, which takes up a good chunk of the middle of the video. And I think this is the second day of the show. So you get some more ballroom stuff in there, and just, you know, looking through all the models that they had for sale. Some additional spotting. Okay, yeah, this was the one where I was on the tour with a couple other people. The Grapevine Planes and Trains tour I did. And then they did some more like model stuff, so you can see, wow, look at all those old school models. Piedmont Continental 767s, People Express 727s. There's an iPad in there as well. And then I think that's a 1-200. Is that Tupolev 154? I think that is. Yeah, someone must have bought a giant model right there. So that was crazy. And then the last part of it is the spotting meetup. And this is where Anderson's stay at the convention came to an end. He had to get back home for an event back at home. So it was great to meet him for the first time. And I didn't know for sure at the time that, you know, he was going to go to Kansas City. So there's the pizza, and you kind of saw me in there in one of the frames. But yeah, that was really good pizza, that Domino's. I ate like 3 pieces in about 2 minutes. I was hungry. I did not eat anything that for that entire day because of that tour and whatnot. So, you know, that's just how it goes. But great spotting meetup for sure. Huge thank you again to Connor for putting that together, and then for the pizza as well. Great experience, and hopefully with ATL we'll get something similar once again. So that was a great experience. So, you know, just looking through the playlist, it's just loaded. All the plane spotting, convention videos, unboxing videos of models that people got, welcome reception perspectives, plane spotting perspectives, just a little bit of everything in this playlist. It's a big amalgamation of content, and there's even the seminars, which finally got their own videos from the World Airline Historical Society. Some great stuff there. Summer 2023 recap, which has a little bit of Airliners International in there, so I threw that into the playlist. Gomez Aviation, his perspective. Antonov 225, vividly remember that moment Connor was contemplating on whether or not to buy it, and he eventually gave in, so that was great that he bought that. So glad I got that on camera. Some other model reviews and other convention videos. Yeah, this playlist is just loaded, so go check this one out, because this one right now is the most loaded playlist before the 2025 show. We'll see how the Atlanta show goes. But yeah, I mean, this Dallas show, this was even better than Chicago with all the new people that we got out. Thanks to us, to Connor and I, we were helping promote the show, and then the word of mouth was just really getting out there across social media, which was great. So we brought a lot of new people out there, made a lot of new friends, strengthened existing friendships from those that I knew through, just talking with them on social media for a while. So got to meet them for the first time, and, sad to see some people go. And when you have those emotions from the people that are leaving, that it tells you that they thoroughly enjoyed every minute of it, and they wanted to be there for another 3 days if that show lasted that long. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and we've got to get back to our daily lives at some point, so we must all leave and return back home. So just another year-long wait, and Kansas City was coming around the corner. That is not the right tab. This is the right tab. So this brings us to the most recent convention, Kansas City, with 174 videos in this community content playlist. And this one by far is the most memorable, with all the new memories that we made and the very cool things that followed after this convention for me personally. And yeah, I was really happy for Connor and Anderson to come back out here. If you remember what Connor did last year, he did that big Europe trip. Went overseas for about 2 weeks with another friend, and then came back to the U.S., went to meet up with Anderson for a weekend right before Airliners, so that was great for them. They went down to Florida, then up to Indianapolis. They went to the Air Force Museum. They did all this fun stuff, and I wish I was a part of that, but I had work to do during that time, so I was just, following along with their journey. I was like, my God. I mean, that museum is incredible. I really want to go to that, but we'll just have to see what works out for a visit to that place in the future. So, excuse me. So, getting to the convention, and this is highlighted in my Day Zero vlog. Let's see if I can find that in there, because I did not put that at the top of the playlist. So you can see the feature videos in this one. We have the Airliners International Experience for me, which is much shorter this time because I did the daily vlogs myself. Jazz Cup Joey's Experience video. It was a really good video there. I gave that a couple of views. Gemini Jet's interview with Todd Models, I thought that was really cool. Got a really big spotlight on him during the convention last year. My Jet Midwest Tour video, Connor's Gemini Jet's unboxing, and then this mix and match aircraft, which had the funny moment in the back with the guy that sounded like a tea kettle, so I'm not sure what happened there, but that was a funny moment for us. And then a general unboxing video from another guy, Gemini Jets 10, and then Anderson's TriStar Experience video, which did surprisingly well, nearly 50,000 views, so he must have hit a part of the algorithm that really just helped push that video out, so that was great for him. And, I just look back at that. Unfortunately, that was the only, big event that he got to do. He wasn't able to stay for the entire time because of that another conflict in his schedule, so we had to say goodbye to him fairly early. And when we were doing that, I did tell him that we're going to do something again later in 2024. What it's going to be, I don't know. We thought about having us all meet up here in Sioux Falls, but the flights just didn't work out for pricing. Even considering going into Minneapolis, that was out of the question. So we scrapped those plans and we looked at an alternative, and that's how the next trip came to be, which I'll look at as well after this. But I just want to look back at that Day Zero vlog real quick if I can find that in here. But you can see all the various videos. The seminars are in here. They're kind of in groups of 3 and 4 here, so they're easy to spot with the white backgrounds amongst the multicolored backgrounds of all of our other thumbnails here. But, all the events here, the tours that I got to do, Jet Midwest TriStar Experience, the TWA Museum, which is the Friday night banquet and all that fun stuff. But yeah, if I just pull up this video right here, this is certainly the best part of it right here. I always like this moment. This is some good content right here.
Hey! What's up, man? How's it going? Oh my god. I figured you were gonna be coming in here, man. How's it going?
Oh my gosh.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going so good, man.
Love to see it.
Wow.
That's just the natural reaction there. Friends seeing each other for the first time in over a year. And of course, as I mentioned, he and Connor had been together for a few days prior to that, so they were already in that corner there just hanging out. And they were just having a bunch of fun back there, and they had to They're just eating, they were about to go do their next thing, and then that's when I showed up around the corner. So, you know, such a great moment for sure. And yeah, that moment for sure was definitely the most memorable if I had to pick just a moment from the convention. So, you know, again, just the importance of friendships, and when you finally see each other after a whole year of, you know, being back in your daily lives, when you finally meet up again, it's just the wave of emotions that hits you when you first see them. And, you know, it's such an amazing feeling that came over me when that happened. So just having that experience, even with the limited time that we got with Anderson at the convention, we still enjoyed every minute of it, and we'll certainly never forget that time, because this convention was great, and it was really just for me personally that I had learned the true value of the friendships and what it means for not only myself, but for everybody else, because this convention unites a lot of us to this one place for 3 days out of the year. We get to do all this fun stuff, be around aviation for that time span, and we just get to hang out. We get to have fun with other like-minded people and make these memories that last a lifetime. And this is part of why we have these YouTube videos out here, because we want to share those memories with other people and just make them aware, you know, hey, there's this awesome show that you can go to and make these memories with your friends, or even, you know, hang out with new people, because there's a lot of people that come out to the show. And while Kansas City wasn't as well attended as DFW, there was still a great turnout though. It was still a great show nonetheless, and I'm really happy that I got to do the Kansas City show, and then of course the MSP spotting with Connor that I did right after, so I brought him to Sioux Falls, his first time in South Dakota, so he got a new state checked off there. We should have gotten Nebraska because we were fairly close to that state, but we just didn't have the time, so we'll get to that state another day. Or he will, whenever he gets the time to do it. But I'm sure I'll meet up with him if he goes into Omaha or something, because it's only a few hours away from me. I definitely make the drive down there if it comes down to that. So yeah, that's the community content playlist from Airliners International. And just going back to what I said earlier about Anderson having to leave early, I told him that we would do something again. And we certainly did, because that inspired the Florida excursion trip that we did. First time that I got to travel with friends just on a non-Airliners related trip, and this was certainly a great time. I vividly remember every moment of this from start to finish. Just, you know, looking back on this trip, it's incredible that I got to do this. I still think about it, you know, some nights where it pops up in my mind, and it's like, oh my God, I actually did that. I actually went to Florida for the first time because I'd been there in my 20 years, so that was great to get that state checked off. And just looking at all the content that I have, there's my first flight with Allegiant, which was great despite it being on their oldest aircraft. We had to hold for like 30 minutes because they were having a computer issue in the cockpit, but thankfully it got reset and we were able to take off. I don't know what I would have done if they turned us around back to the gate. I probably wouldn't have even done this trip at all, but I'm sure I would have been able to figure something out, even if it was a little more pricey. But thankfully it all worked out in the end. Spirit Airlines flight, my first time with them, that was a great flight. My first one on the Neo aircraft as well, so great to get that checked off. And then my first airplane shop visit as well. Still kind of wish Anderson was there for that, but basically he had a big delay with Spirit and couldn't make it for that, but we did get him a model from there so that he had at least something from the airplane shop. We didn't want him to leave this trip without anything from that airplane shop visit. Miami spotting, great as ever. Loved every minute of it. Fort Lauderdale, the Silver Airways flight we did together. Awesome experience on that ATR 72, and now they don't even fly that route anymore. They have cut so many routes, and they've returned several aircraft to their lessors as well. Crazy how things changed so suddenly. And then obviously Spirit, they went into bankruptcy. They recently exited that, which is good, but they're going to have a huge restructuring on their airline and their fares and all that in the future, so we'll see how that plays out. But for Silver Airways, it was great to get them checked off, and thankfully we made that flight work. And I don't think that flight was not even that full to begin with, so maybe that's another reason why they had to cut that. But great to get Silver Airways checked off, my first ever prop flight. And then the Orlando spotting, just phenomenal as ever, all the time that we had with Anderson and Connor there. B-52 memorial visit, and just checking out that exhibit, my first time seeing, well, actually I shouldn't say that, because I did see one at the Strategic Air Command Museum in Ashland, Nebraska, which is about 20 minutes away from Omaha. So I need to get back there and check that place out at some other time. But yeah, the Orlando was kind of the stopping point for the three of us together, because obviously Anderson had to get back to school. So we said our goodbyes to him at the Orlando airport, wished him safe travels, and we made sure that we would definitely get back to another trip in the future. So, you know, the trip itself was great, even if it was very short. We only had Anderson with us for just a little over 24 hours it was, factoring in the delay that he had on his flights. But again, just with the limited time that we had with him, we made every minute of it count. We enjoyed every minute of the trip, and just going back to that Airliners convention in Kansas City, you know, that is where the inspiration for it came. And if I didn't attend this show, that Florida excursion trip probably wouldn't have even happened to begin with. And, you know, it's just crazy to think about. It's so surreal just to see, you know, you go for something like this, where it's just a simple aviation convention where you get to buy stuff and have fun, and then you expand upon that, bring new people out to the show, and you do all sorts of fun stuff for the first time, and then you finally grow that even further with the Kansas City convention, and, you know, you get a good chunk of people to come out once more, and you have so much more fun, and strengthen the bonds that you already have. And then you build upon those bonds and embark on an epic excursion to new places that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to go to even just a couple years ago. I shouldn't say wouldn't have been able. I would have just been uncomfortable doing it in the past. But that whole Airliners convention and then Connor and I doing the spotting, it made me more comfortable, and realizing that I should be able to do this fun stuff, because, you know, now I'm plenty old enough to travel by myself. I can do all this fun adult stuff by myself. Just, you know, being able to experience the world on my own and learn along the way. You know, I've been just kind of afraid of failure, you know, certain points of a trip where maybe I would mess something up and it just wouldn't look good on me. I always get nervous about that, but life is all about learning. That's what I've learned. And just learning from those mistakes and moving on is what matters most. You know, I've learned that people, they don't get upset if you just make that mistake once and you move on from it. It's only when you just keep repeating that mistake over and over again, that's when it really becomes irritating for other people. So this Florida excursion trip was big for me personally, and grew, you know, not only the friendships that I have with Connor and Anderson, but also for just myself, a big opportunity for me to learn so many new things on, you know, various real world experiences and real world skills, and just learning on those, because it's important. And especially if we ever do a future trip, then I can put those things that I've learned to good use and build on that even more, and just have an even more fun time with them whenever we do another trip together. You know, when we, of course, meet up at Airliners International or do something else later on down the line, it's certainly important that I always learn from whatever mistakes I may make, whether I know it or not. And this Florida trip provided me a good opportunity to see where I stood with that, and I've certainly learned a lot of new things from it, and just along the way having fun, enjoying things in the moment. And all this content certainly reflects on that, with the spotting, the flying, the models, and just everything in between, having fun with friends. That's kind of why I did this video, the unboxing models with friends. I'll just click on that real quick, because I think this is a really good video, worth a quick watch.
Piece of content.
So there's Anderson's model, that Icelandair Cargo 767 by Phoenix. So good.
Isn't she pretty?
Yeah, that is
Stunner.
beautifully gorgeous model. Such a good model right there. I should get one for myself, because that one looked really good.
Pink.
I like it. I just think it's hot.
That's a good reference right there. That was a good reference for us. But yeah, definitely enjoyed that model. I'm super happy that he has that model for himself, and just, again, compensating for the fact that he missed out on the airplane shop, which, you know, we hate it for him, but nothing he can do. Just got to make it up to him somehow, and just know that we appreciate him every step of the way, and we want to make sure that he has the best time when he's traveling, whether it's just with Connor, or it's Connor and myself, or even just myself. If we ever do something just between the two of us in the future, you know, just having that, just knowing that we appreciate him every step of the way, and just knowing that, you know, we appreciate him, we respect him, we we want to make sure that he feels welcome whenever he's doing a trip like this, because, you know, he is such a nice person to hang out with. I'm super fortunate to know him, and, you know, it's just crazy. We've known each other for probably, oh goodness, it's been about 4 or 5 years now since I first remember interacting with him, because Anderson has told me that he first watched my videos all the way back in like 2017. So it'd have been that Allegiant Air unboxing. I think that was the first one that he told me about, that he remembers watching a long ways back. So he's known me far longer than I've known him, which is just crazy to think about. But now that we have this friendship bond, this friendship that we have and what we've been able to do together is just crazy. And, you know, hopefully we do get another opportunity to do something more fun. You know, obviously we've got Airliners International coming up, and then maybe we'll do something else again later on down the line. Just depends on what our schedules are like, because life certainly doesn't get less busy nowadays. You know, with all of us in college now, we have our own commitments. So just finding that time to do a weekend trip to wherever will become more difficult. But when we do find that opportunity, we will be sure to take advantage of it. So that is my video on Airliners International and just the general impact that it has had on me. Once again, expanding upon the Captain's Log article that is published, that is linked in the description if you want to go read it. It's a very good write-up for sure. Highly recommend that you give it a read, because I did take quite a bit of time to type that up. I did have something else originally typed up, so I did modify it a little bit to better fit the objective of what they were looking for these friendship stories. So I wanted to just elaborate on that further and find a focus for it, which was just the impact of those friendships on me and what it means with this Airliners International convention being in my life now. And now that I've gone to it for 3 years, it'll be 4 this year, and just, you know, learning all sorts of new things, becoming comfortable, being uncomfortable. That's another thing too that I've been taught, is that you get out of your comfort zone and you do these things, you'll get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it just works out for everybody. So, you know, that Florida excursion trip, like I said, that was a great opportunity for me to learn certain things and just, you know, fix any mistakes that I may have made along the way. And that will help me for any future trips that we end up doing down the line. And I'm super excited for any of them whenever we get to do them again. And after Airliners International, it'll be hard to say for sure what we'll do next, but I'm sure we'll definitely be able to do something great, because we have very big ambitions on where we want to go next. I know we've thought about going to like the West Coast, but the prices just aren't that great. And then, you know, doing anything international-wise would take up a lot of time, so that would be a struggle on just finding the time, let alone, you know, worrying about the prices of everything, because that's not going to help. But whatever happens next is what happens next, and we just have to take it one step at a time and just trust the process. That's all we got to do. And the friendships from Airliners International have made me learn so many great things about me, and just being able to improve on my social skills and, you know, finally have these true friends that I've wanted for so long. And now I'm very grateful for that. And I enjoy being around all of them whenever I get the chance, even if it's just on the phone with them for an hour at a given night. Just enjoying that time together is what makes me appreciate the friendships even more, because we live so far away. You know, we don't get to see each other. We only get to see each other once or twice a year, maybe more if we're lucky, but just usually the once or twice a year with Airliners International, and then a trip that we may end up doing somewhere after that, like we did with the Florida excursion last year. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Again, not scripted, so, you know, it may have been a little all over the place with the outline, but this is just a way for me to expand upon the Captain's Log article that got published on the World Airline Historical Society's website. Again, that is linked in the description if you want to check it out. Read into it a little more, see what my story is like, because I think it's quite an interesting story for sure, and I'm sure there might be others that will be able to relate to that as well. So with that being said, hope you enjoyed today's video, as we are right at the doorstep of Airliners International. Hopefully you're able to all come on out to Atlanta. It's going to be a blast. Can't wait for it. And there'll be a lot of fun stuff coming on the channel very soon. So with that said, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you in the next one.